This is a game that I played with black recently. It was a blitz game, 2 minutes with 1 second on each move. So let's take a look. The opening was a queen's gambit decline, Tartakower defense, I think. Before I actually go any further, usually instead of knight to f3 here, white will go c4, and either then play knight f3 or go knight to c3. The first would be a queen's Indian and the other one would be a nymph's Indian. But my opponent played knight f3, absolutely okay. It seems like a lot of people prefer to play knight f3 before knight to c3 for some reason. I mean after c4. But here he plays knight f3 before c4. And obviously when you get into this opening of position, you treat it as you normally would. I mean, for example, if this had been a queen's Indian, it would have looked like this anyway. I mean, if white would play knight f3 after c4. But here I played b6, and this is usually what I play. I mean, it's a queen's Indian, or it would have been at least. The normal start of it. He played bishop to g5, I think. It's a book move, alright, but I think g3 is played probably the most here. I think that's the main reason why. I mean, g3 is definitely a move to prefer here for white, I think, because once this bishop gets to g2, you always have to keep an eye on this rook on a8. So, I mean, for example, if this knight would ever move somewhere, then, you know, the bishop has this diagonal. So bishop to g5 makes, I guess, life a little bit easier for black. I'm not saying that bishop g2 followed by bishop g2, sorry, g3 followed by bishop g2 is anything dangerous or anything for black. I'm just saying that it's probably a better move. But bishop g5 is okay. I played bishop b7, knight c3, d5. Instead of d5, bishop b4 can also be played. And the idea is that, well, you're not only pinning the knight, but you're also giving your development a little bit more speed. I mean, for example, you can just go here and then just castle on the next move, depending on what white plays. And it also, I suppose, gives a little bit more control of the e4 square, because obviously after e4 we can just take and when the knight is pinned on b4 here. But I played d5. The idea is simply the same. I don't want to do anything else. Obviously there are many moves here that you can play. You can go c5, I don't know, just to give a ridiculous move here, bishop takes f3 for no apparent reason. Then, well, maybe even something else. Let's say, I can't even find such a bad move. Perhaps d6. I'm not saying that's a bad move, but it's probably not a very good move either, because it does allow white to play e4 at some points. So d5 simply controls the e4 square a little bit more. He played e3, bishop e7, bishop d3, and also after bishop d3, if I had a pawn on a6, then I can just take d takes c, bishop takes, and then b5, and then perhaps soon play c5, perhaps immediately, or knight bd7 first. But there's no reason to take the pawn now, because it just takes with the bishop, and I don't have any b5 moves. I play knight bd7, castles h6. Bishop h4, castles myself, and now rook c1. I played c5. Looks very good for black. I mean, this is very comfortable for black, I think. He played bishop b1. Okay, it looks like he's giving up this pawn on c4, but I suppose his idea is at some point to play queen d3 or queen c2 or something like that. I didn't take the pawn. Frankly, I didn't even see that I could take the pawn, but I don't quite like that, because after d takes c, I no longer have a pawn on d5, and maybe at some point you can play e4 and, you know, start. And also it's kind of hard to hold on to that pawn on c4 anyway. You can play queen a4 if you really want to win it back. I didn't take the pawn. I played rook e8. I think the book move here is rook c8. Rook a from a to c8. But I played rook e8. I don't see anything terrible with that, because I know how, for example, if something crazy would happen, queen d3, and this knight is being traded off or whatever, I can always play other knight to f8, just protecting my h7 square, and it also protects my bishop in case I ever move my queen somewhere. Here I played c takes d5. I took with the knight. He took my bishop. First I was looking at something like knight takes, bishop takes, knight takes over here, but I decided to keep it simple and I just took back. Queen d3, knight back to f6, he played e4, I played c takes d4. You might wonder, well, isn't that a blunder because I can just play this move? Well, it's not actually a blunder because if you play c5 I can just take it from the knight. Well, I can even perhaps play something else. I haven't actually looked at this, but I was looking at something like if e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, then just c takes this knight on c3, and then he takes back, blah blah blah, and this knight on f6 is still protecting my h7 square. And also if e5, maybe not, this is just off the top of my head, maybe knight to c5, I don't know. Probably just takes the pawn and then I win back the knight on c3 anyway. But he didn't do that and he played knight d7. Knight takes d4, I play knight c5, queen c2, and here I just... Queen c2 is obviously a mistake. He could have played queen e3 and this probably would have been an equal position. But he didn't do that, so he played queen c2, and here I just won the pawn. And now obviously I want to take his bishop, so he doesn't have the annoying potential, at least, queen h7 check, mate. He took back, I play rook a to c8, and here he has his pin, so I'll just trade it off. And here I play rook c8, he doesn't have knight to d6 here, obviously, because I have an in-between move, rook takes with check, and then when he... I mean, that's just ridiculous, he will lose everything. So after that he just played queen d2, I took the rook, he took back, a6, knight d6, queen d7, he played queen c8, trading off the queens, and also after knight takes c8 he has this threat on my b6 pawn, but after knight to d5 I'm not only protecting my pawn, but I'm also keeping an eye on this e7 square, so he can't even check anyway. So he started marching his king towards the center. I play king f8, king e2, king e8, knight d6, king e7, knight c4, b5. I'm just kicking his knight around. Knight e3, knight takes. Knight e3 is probably, I think, a mistake, keeping in mind that I'm already up a pawn, so you don't want to trade down pieces, obviously. Of course, when you play knight to e3, I just immediately play knight takes e3, king takes, king d6, king d4. Black is just totally winning this. I have an extra pawn, and I just play e5 check, king e4, king e6. He played b4, a mistake. He could have tried g4, but he doesn't stop black from playing g6 followed by f5 anyway. So, since he played at b4 and he made things a little bit easier for me, I played f5 immediately, king e3, king d5, king d3, g5, f3, e4, check, takes, king e3, king e5, and he's in Suksvang, I think. Yeah, sooner or later he has to move something anyway. He played a3, h5, g3, g4, king e2, king d4, king d2, e3 check, king e2. It's amazing how much difference just one pawn really makes, but it actually makes all the difference. King e4, king e1, king d3, king d1, e2 check, king e1, king e3, and now it looks like it's a stalemate, but obviously it is not a stalemate because he can move both the h-pawn and the a-pawns. So he played a4, I just took, and I gave my pawn on a6 because I just marched my pawn on the a-file towards a1 checkmate. So b6, a2 and b7, a1 queens or rook, doesn't matter. So that just a quick look at a game that I played, and I think it was an okay game to look at.